Finland has a long history of applying technologies. The case of phenomenal rise, but also the case of phenomenal fall. So, 3 ways of building a future for the world. Hi, I'm Markku Wilenius, the traveling futurist. Did you know that Finland is hosting one of the truly leading high-tech startup events in the whole world? It's called Slash. And this year, they're gonna bring over 1 trillion venture capital from all over the world into Finland, into this highly interesting event. Finland has a long history of applying technologies. Back more than 100 years ago, there was a Spanish journalist of El País who traveled all the way up to Finland to learn about the country at that time. And he was astonished for a couple of facts. And remember, this was the late 19th century. There were women that were driving bikes. Also, the women had a lot to say in the society. There were people, generally speaking, that were so much afraid of the new technology as they were applying those technologies into their everyday life. From his perspective at that time, he saw that Finland indeed, even if it didn't have independence at that time, liked to deal with the technology, and they were very fond of that. Now, Finland's way to the global economic market started essentially on the 19th century and with a new technology. That technology was actually how to make paper out of the conifer trees. Finland started to extensively to use that technology, thereby created a global market for itself. And the first sort of a foundational stone of our economy came from forest technology. Producing pulp and paper and all kinds of boards and stuff from the conifer tree became a big deal for Finland. Thereafter, a lot of people wanted to train themselves to be the technicians that were dealing in those technologies. Of course, there came many more as the metal industry also started to take its upright sort of development. But particularly, this was also because Finnish people in general were inclined to deal with the technology in such a way that it actually built the whole of our export. And even today, if you look at the sheer numbers, technology is #1 export from Finland. Ever since the 90s, Finland was also came to be known as a Nokia country. Nokia was the company in early 90s that actually had this tremendous vision of bringing mobile phone into everyone's pocket. And by and large, they were the ones who actually made it possible, not only by creating the phones that were the best at their time, but also creating kind of an industry standard for this business to grow on the global scale. Nokia was the case of phenomenal rise, but also the case of phenomenal fall. That is also part of the kind of a technology history of Finland. But even if it fell, a lot of the technology competence that came with the rise of the Nokia are still in this country, now distributed to the small companies around the different growth region of Finland. So there are 3 technological building stones for Finland to build its capacity for the future. The first area of technology comes from biotechnology, bioeconomy in all its form, which essentially means that we use that technology to extract different natural fibers to use in whole variety of purposes, from industry into the household. Using these renewable materials is of course quintessential aspect of building anything that we can call as circular economy. It would build on a pathway globally, not just here in Finland, how we can actually rebuild our industrial production patterns as well as our consumption patterns. And Finland having, as said earlier, this long tradition of working with the timber, working with the wood, working with the biomaterials, working with the fibers, adding technology into that, would be the leading nation in building up this more renewable future. The second stepping stone is our capacity to build novel technologies. And particularly now, when we are moving to different and new technological layer when it comes to the networks. 5G networks are being launched already in different parts of the world, but in next 1 to 3 years, this technology will become predominant, and that will enable huge amount of new services and products into the market. Now, Finland has a lot of this technology know-how, not just because Nokia is one of the key producer of this type of the technology and a service provider, but also because there is a huge amount of grassroots level companies that have been built over the decades to support this nexus of network technology in Nokia. So as a result, we have a big variety of different, very ambitious firms and technologies that are building up this capacity to deliver when the 5G technology is widely ready. The third area of technological competence as a kind of a building, a stepping stone for Finland towards the future is coming from energy technology. So green and energy technology, anything that has to do with how to produce more energy with less input, particularly less input from non-renewable sources, is the one where Finland has been doing a lot of pioneering work in the last decades. And that work will continue as we are moving into the era where resource efficiency is the name of the day. The key technologies that help actually the society to move much more intelligent, much more faster and much more sustainable come from those sources of technology that are bringing the industrial production but also our consumption level much more sustainable and building up then the kind of a society of the future. Summarizing, Finland is a country which has a lot of ambition when it comes to creating new technologies. It's been that way for quite some time. Actually, it's been that way for the last 200 years. Now, from this on, these technologies that can really bring the societies and economies into much more sustainable, more efficient, are the technologies that Finland is now creating. Those are the biotechnologies and bioeconomies, 5G networks, so all kinds of wireless networks that is enabling communication. And thirdly, all kinds of new energy technologies that are helping us to transition into much more sustainable energy system. So, 3 ways of building a future for the world that is coming from Finland. Subscribe to my channel, share this video with your friends, and come up with your own idea. What is the future technology that may come and arise out of Finland? I want to hear it. See you.